Hello, everybody. I am DJ Leandro. Welcome back to the DJ Leandro Music YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to show you all how to perfect your drums and get the absolute most and the highest quality that you can from your drums within your productions, mainly focusing on house music. Okay, so in this video, before I get started, we're going to go through each of the individual elements within my drums that we've got. And then I'm going to show you afterwards how we're going to process all of them all together, running them through a drum bus channel, and how to use your channel strip within Cubase to get the most out of your drums. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to go through each of these elements that we are working with within this example, and then we're going to start processing each of them. Okay, so first that we are listening to, we got our kick. And then we got a percussion loop. And then we got a second percussion loop. And then we got a standard hi-hat. And then we got a clap. And we got a shaker. Now, these are just totally random samples that I've added in together. So we're going to go through this together step by step. And in the end of this, your drums are going to be absolutely amazing. Okay, so the main element within our drums is, of course, our kick. So we're going to first start off with the volume level of the kick. Now, this kick specifically, we are happy with it. It's been processed and everything. So we're going to just focus on the volume in this case. So we're going to solo it. Just drop the volume a little bit down. Okay, so now that we've got the volume of our kick that we're happy with, everything else is going to be working around the volume of the kick. Okay, so now that we've got our drums here, to make it nice and neat, what we're going to do is we're going to add them into a folder. To do that, you're going to right-click here. You'll then go to Add Folder Track, and we're going to call this Drums. And then it's going to bring up your folder track. And then to put them all in, very simple, we'll click the first one, click the last one, and hold in Control. And we'll click the ones that we want. Or simply, you can just click the first one, hold in Shift, and then click the last track. They're all highlighted. Then you will click and hold and move it up into the folder, and you'll see a green arrow. And then you'll release the click. And then now you can see it is now in our folder track, which we can open and close here. So if you want, you can mute them or solo them, whatever you prefer. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, that's nice and neat, and we've got it in our folder, let's first start off with our percussion loop let's start off with our percussion loop that we have here. Okay, let's go. Okay, first things first, you're going to open up frequency. Let's see what we're working with here. Personally, I roll off completely the low end, basically anything under 200 hertz, so I can make space for my kick. I seem to be happy with that. Now, personally, because as you can see, the actual loop itself, you can see the actual hit points of each of the percussions being played are playing at different volumes. Now, obviously, we can just actually sit, if we want, and increase this here. But then again, that's what compressors are there for, so we don't have to do that. So personally, I'm going to add a bus compressor to this as opposed to a normal compressor. That's just my personal taste. I prefer doing that. So let's add that now. I just want slight compression. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now let's go to our second percussion loop. Again, we're going to open up frequency. I'm going to cut off my low end to make space for my bass and kick. Maybe we can cut a little bit more. So you can actually hear that little bit of a rumble. We'll see how we feel about that a little bit later once we play all of them together. But for now, we're going to just stick to one element each. Now let's go to our hi-hat. Open our frequency. Yep, I'm happy with that as it stands. To usually add some presence to my hi-hat, add a little bit of room to it, I like to add a reverb send effect. So we're going to do that now. So we'll right-click here. We'll go to Add Effects Track. There we go. And we're adding Realm. It's going to be a stereo channel. We're going to make this hat verb is the name that we're going to call it. There we go. We're going to make it all the way wet. Give it a bit of a low cut. Drop the decay and the size a little bit because I don't want too much reverb. And then we'll go back to our hi-hat. And we're going to activate our send effect and turn that on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the volume of the effects. I'm going to just play the reverb, bring it in slowly. Just drop the gain a little bit. There we go. I'm happy with that. This gives it a little bit of room. I'm just going to mute this so you can hear what it sounds before and after. There we go. Just gives it a little bit more space within your mix. Okay, now we're going to go to our clap. Let's bring the volume a little bit up. Let's open up frequency. Again, I'm going to cut a little bit here on our low end. Now, because it's a clap, and in this case, it's a little bit weak, and let's say for argument's sake, you don't want to add another either snare or clap to layer on top of it. We just want to keep with this one. What we can do is we can add some compression to it. Sorry about that. Let me just drop the volume a little bit. Perfect. Let's bring this up. Go back to our compressor, add some gain. Perfect. Okay, I'm happy with that. And lastly, let's go to our shaker. Again, we're going to open up frequency, but as we can see here already, we are happy with that. A nice little trick that you can do that sometimes I do within my tracks, especially with shakers or like rolling hi-hat loops, is I will add a filter to it. I find it sort of thins it out a bit and gives it a nice little intensity. Again, this is totally a matter of preference. I'm going to keep it like that for now. We'll mess around a little bit later, now that we processed more or less in the beginning. Okay, so now we're going to start working with each of them together and slowly bring them in. So again, as I mentioned before, we're going to keep with our kick, and we're going to work everything around our kick. All right, now what I usually do is I'll start off with my main elements within the drums, that being my clap or snare and my hi-hat. So what I will do is I'll bring these up here first. Here's our hat reverb, so I'm going to bring that up so I know that is together with this. So we're going to start off with our hi-hat volume. Now before I do that, I drop the volume all the way down, and then I'll play the kick, and then I'll slowly bring it up to a volume that I'm happy with. This is a trick that I do on all my tracks, especially when it comes to processing, not just my drums, but also processing instrument groups as well. Okay, so I'm going to now unmute the hi-hat, and we're going to bring in the volume. Okay, I'm now happy with that. We're now going to do the same with our clap. Unmute, volume all the way down, and slowly bring it in. Okay, again, we're going to do with our percussion loop. We're going to do it with our second percussion. And now with our shaker. Okay, now let's say I am happy with this. The one thing that stands out to me is that these two, my hi-hat and my percussion loop that has got also a hi-hat on, which we'll hear now. Now what we can do is we can actually sidechain this hi-hat so that it doesn't clash with the main hi-hat. So very simple. All we got to do is this. What we'll do is we'll go to our percussion loop. We've got a hi-hat that we wanted to duck. We're going to add a compressor. And we're going to sidechain it to the, we're going to sidechain this to the main hi-hat. So again, we're going to turn on our sidechain. We'll then find our main hat, which is hat loop. There we go. Now let's play it now. There we go. Now it's sounding much better. Now we've got our main hat coming through. What we can also do is we can slowly pan each of the elements to again give our drums more width. So we will do that now. So in this case, I'm going to pan this a little bit to the left. Our main hat and our clap will stay center. Our other percussion loop, we can pan a little bit to the right. And our shaker, I also want to pan this a little bit. Now let's listen to the kick. Okay, that sounds good to me. All right, now we're going to add a drum bus track, and we're going to send all these elements into our drum bus, and we're going to start working with that. So in order to do that, we're going to right click. We're going to add a group track. We're going to call this drums. And then we're going to bring this all the way to the top here because this is going to be controlling our drums. And in order to send everything through, very simple, we'll click 1, then we'll hold in shift, click in the bottom, our last track that we want, which is our shaker, which is going to highlight everything. And then we're going to hold in shift, hold in alt. We'll then go to where it says stereo out. We'll click there. And we're going to make where you see our group, so it says drums. Now we have routed all these elements into our drum channel. So as you can see now, they all say drums. Okay, now that everything's been sent to it and each of these volumes we've worked out and we're happy we've done the processing, we're now going to go into our drum group. We'll open up the channel settings here. And usually you can open up frequency to see what's going on, but we've already processed each of them, so frequency in this case, in my opinion, is totally useless. We don't need it. So we're going to go straight into glue compression. So we're going to add my favorite solid bus compressor from Latest Instruments. And now we're going to start processing our drums. Okay, with that, I am happy with. All right, now we've got that. One thing we can do now is to add a little bit of either parallel compression or some saturation. Okay, usually for me personally, I like adding just very, very little parallel compression. I've got a very, very nice compressor here, which is again from Native Instruments, which is called Supercharger. Here it is, and this is Supercharger. So I'm going to play it as it is. Now you'll see on the right here, it's got wet and dry signals. So just to show you the difference, it's now playing through the wet. So once I bring this up, you're going to hear the parallel compression coming through. So if I only want, let's say, just a little bit like that, we'll then take it all the way to the dry. And now it's not being added. And then we'll slowly just bring in a little bit. Okay, with that I'm happy with. And then what we can do, we can add some limiting on it. So in this case, Cubase has got a very nice one called Brick Wall Limiter. We'll click there. And I just wanted to shave off just the top, just a little bit, not too much, not too much. So we'll drop this a little bit. As you can see, it's just a little bit just to shave off those high peaks, not too much. We don't want to just limit everything completely, just a little bit over there. Now, in this case, usually I'll be done with this. This sounds great, but another thing that you can do, but again, this will only be done once you've got so many other groups of instruments, if you've got vocals and bass lines and whatnot, is that I personally like to increase basically the range between 400 and 1 kilohertz. We can actually boost it a little bit. Reason being is because I like it. I can add a little bit of body to your track, not just with the drums, but actually within the track itself. I'll just show you now. If I had to bring in frequency, I'll first mute these. I'll bring in frequency now just so you can understand what I'm talking about. So if I had to bring in, like, let's say here. Just a very, very small boost. We're talking just a couple dBs. Which will just bring your drums a little bit more in. So we'll just now go back to everything else. Add our limiter again. And now let's bring in our kick. And there we go. Everything now sounds absolutely amazing. As you can hear now, much warmer than what it usually would sound. And yeah, and that's it. As you can see, it's very, very simple, very easy. Again, this is trial and error. You'll have to work around and see what works for you within your tracks. But this is definitely a very good tool and tip that's going to help you within your tracks. Thank you so much for joining in this video. If you liked it, don't forget to share and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you at the next one.